This is the Weekly Scramble, a place where we chat about life over a cold one. Or two. It's time to belly up to the pod with Mike Fratelloni and your host, Chris Reavers.
That's right. It's time for the Weekly Scramble. My name is Chris Reavers. By my side, his name is Mike Fratelloni with Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores. Hello, Michael.
How you doing, Reavers?
I am well. You just informed the mayor, and of course, you got the mayor's downtrodden. Oh, why didn't we think of that look? But you were right. You're spot on with this observation.
The other night, sleepless me, middle of the night, thinking about this, because earlier in the night, my wife had made a comment when we were at the 1000th podcast. Mm-hmm. She said, everybody knew everything. And they all knew the characters, and they knew that was the lake detective. And I said, yeah, you're listening to the show. It's they have a lot of formula on the show that makes it so great. And then I thought to myself, the one huge miss that we had, and I'm going to say me, even we, I'm going to throw we into it.
That's fair.
Is that
You're part of the show.
Yeah, he didn't read an email that started out with "Hail to the Flashlight King."
I wish we would. That would have been amazing.
You would have had 750 people say "Hail you"
in an environment and in an arena that was so great with sound.
Oh, it would have been so
spectacular.
Cool. Yeah, and he went through a bunch of great stuff, and the show was off the charts. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it, the 1000th podcast.
Yep.
But that would have been so great to have a "Hail you" there. Wouldn't it have been?
Dang it! I wish we had thought of that, because that would have been very, very cool.
So I was listening to the podcast, and I had my phone on, and I'm playing, and my wife's in the background. And she says, "Is Joe kind of always like that?" And I said, he's a lovable curmudgeon, right? And she said, yeah, but I said, you gotta listen to more than just a little bit, right? You have to get it to see that it's not ill-tempered.
No,
he's just lovable curmudgeon.
And the show, I think, personally speaking, anyway, it's become more like a club now that it's a podcast, as opposed to when it was on the radio. Even though it had a very club feel to it when it was a radio show. Obviously, because you
everybody
just look
knew
at the state
it.
fair.
Yep.
But I think it's become even more so now that we are a podcast. At least I feel that way. Anyway.
I'm very proud that Fratelloni's is paying for the first month for everybody, for the club.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I said, I want everybody to experience this backstage feel. So we gave those $10 gift cards, right? We don't pay directly for the first month of the club.
But it's a trade-off.
You're going to get $10 if Fratelloni's come in and spend $10. It costs you $10 to join the membership. So that was cool. I was super excited to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. I got to see some of those gift cards come in now.
Speaking of the 1000th podcast, and speaking of you, and speaking of the town council, we got a great email from Father Doug Ebert. Subject line: Weekly Scramble. FYI, I would have stayed at the Art Center in Hopkins for a Scramble podcast. A GL listener since day one. I have now been listening to the Scramble since it became a regular podcast. I very much enjoy the show. Thank you very much, Father Doug.
Oh, I bless him.
I don't know. Did you have a chance to meet Father Doug at 30 Bales?
I did not know he was a father. I should have maybe put myself into a little bit better position.
Well, I did have a chance to talk to him. He actually did the service for my grandmother's funeral over a year ago. So that's how I met.
Was he front row?
He might have been. I don't know where he sat because I couldn't see anything.
He's used to having parishioners be out there, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm getting front row because he knows those people are fastest to God, right? Those people are going to go to heaven first.
And I think Father Doug also, he introduced himself. It was me, my mother, and my cousin that were doing some of the readings, and I was doing the eulogy. Mm-hmm. And so he had said, well, here's kind of what the game plan's going to be. You guys can pick whatever order you guys want to go in, whatnot. And then when I was done with the eulogy, because of course, what did I do? I brought the house down.
Sure.
But I'm joking.
Did you get a stand, one of those
Arsenio's? But he did go, well, I guess Reavers did cut into my time.
Oh,
it was perfect.
Really, okay,
it was absolutely
good.
perfect because it was and he did a wonderful job. So anyway, but it was nice to see him because I hadn't seen him since the day of the service, which was over a year ago.
Where does he work?
This was down at Hazelwood Church, which is right. You can see it from 35. So it's, I guess, right before you get to the Big Steer exit, which is Highway 19.
Okay.
And then after you pass if you're going south, by the way, and after you pass the Elko New Market exit.
So can we call that a tertiary suburb? Like it's way out there.
It's in Webster Township.
Webster Township. So that's where the father's from there.
I don't know if he's from there.
Or does he work
he's
a lot
from
of
Lakeville.
Okay, maybe he's got a lot. Yeah. Maybe if you're a father in a big town church, you get to do multiple places.
And honestly, I've always enjoyed going, because I went there a ton when I was a kid with my grandparents, because we would, mom and dad would have a date night, so us kids stayed at the farm, and we would oftentimes go to Saturday late afternoon mass with grandma and grandpa, and that's where we went. And I always really enjoyed going to church there.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway.
sweet. Well, that was very cool of him to say that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's like
was cool.
kind of a celebrity sighting.
Exactly.
Right?
Now on to much bigger issues.
Oh, no.
Mike, I didn't really want to talk about this, but I think we have to, because this so perfectly illustrates how we have lost our damn minds.
I totally
I know
get
you're going to have an opinion, and what I love about working with you is I know I can bring up basically anything, and you're going to know what it's about, and you're going to know, generally speaking, what I'm talking about, but I know that you're going to have some thoughts on it as well.
I appreciate that. I feel like I listen to enough GL that I kind of get the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a message from M&M's. America, let's talk. In the last year, we've made some changes to our beloved spokes candies. We weren't sure if anyone would even notice, and we definitely didn't think it would break the internet. But now we get it. Even a candy's shoes can be polarizing, which was the last thing M&M's wanted, since we're all about bringing people together. Therefore, we have decided to take an indefinite pause from spokes candies. In their place, we are proud to introduce a spokesperson America can agree on, the beloved Maya Rudolph. We are confident Ms. Rudolph will champion the power of fun to create a world where everyone feels they belong. Sincerely, M&M's. Are you familiar with the controversy?
So did they got woke? Didn't they?
According to some.
According to some, explain to me what did they have to do to? Did they have like naked candies parading in front of school children during M&M story hour at the library? What were they doing here?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
And I don't care.
Okay, I think if I'm not mistaken, they had some really woke candy characters.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, it might have been a couple. I can't remember the whole story. I don't want to misquote good people at M&M, because I enjoy an M&M.
Oh, who doesn't?
I like an M&M. The peanut M&Ms, favorite, right? I really enjoy those. I mean, I eat other candies too, Reavers, but I will occasionally. Really, if you want to have something super delicious, pepperoni personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut.
Okay.
Those small ones that come in that flaming hot little metal pan, right?
Yes.
With a bag of peanut M&Ms. Got me through high school.
Oh,
they're so good.
Yeah.
I'm right now. My mouth just watered.
In fact, the M&M cookie itself is my personal favorite.
Oh yeah.
To the point where, anyway.
Okay, wait. Go ahead.
So
you'd give up everything for it. I'm gonna look up. Can't you look up M&M characters that were?
And some are because of the various colors. They're equating it with LGBTQ and things of that nature. And I just want to say, can anything in 2023 now not be controversial? Did I say that sentence correctly?
Yeah, I think you did. But you got to remember is, if I'm not mistaken, M&M went out to do something identity-wise. They wanted to do the diversity, equity, inclusion. They went after that, and the world said, now you've ruined our beautiful little M&M characters, right?
Yeah.
Because you've made it political instead of just making it a piece of delicious candy.
And go ahead, I'm sorry.
Reavers, we have those little M&M characters at the store. Like it's a little guy who stands there with his arms up and his back is open and you put M&Ms in there.
Yeah.
And we would have people attempt to steal those and say, well, it's just a display. It's like, yeah, it's a plastic display that we want to have our M&Ms in, right?
Right.
And so for years, we would get people asking for them, right? And so it's interesting to see that they've replaced their candies. Who is this woman? Is it Maya?
Maya Rudolph.
Who's that?
You know who she is. She was on Saturday Night Live forever. The Bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids, yeah. She seems sweet. She's the one who
she's very
the one who
hilarious.
pooped in the dress.
She did.
Okay.
She was the
It's
bride.
happening. This is happening.
This is really happening.
Oh my God. That was one of the best scenes ever.
But I just thought, I guess I'm the one that's bringing it up on the show. But I don't know. I just get so, and again, it's because we, and I'm saying the collective we on this, we are in the news consumption business, right? And that's what we do. You have to read a lot of, I just get so bleeping wore out with this kind of crap. Don't you? I mean, or is it a lot of people just choose not to really divulge? I guess I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I'm sleep deprived, so bear with me.
What you don't want to do is have to worry about things like M&Ms, right?
Yeah.
But when a company goes out, I'm reading briefly as we're talking about this, the brown M&M had swapped her stilettos for lower block heels, and the green M&M traded its go-go boots for sneakers. Right, because they had to make them more inclusive. Like instead of the brown M&M wearing high stilettos, went to block heels, like kind of a different look, right?
Okay.
And I guess that just infuriated everybody.
Why?
Because we're too good in America. We have too much stuff. People don't need to go out and get their butts to work every day so they can get pissed off because an M&M changed its boots. That being said, M&M should have left the boots the way they are and don't try to play to the woke crowd because then people get pissed and then now you have to have this sweet Maya become the spokesman for candy.
But I guess there's a section of people, and I'm being very general by saying this, but there's just a section of people who that's what they do all day is they look for reasons to be offended about something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't get that line of thinking. I don't understand.
Have you heard of that book? I find the title frustrating, but it does make you think of it. It's like The Subtle Art of Not Giving and then the F word,
sure.
right? So I've not read the book
By
yet.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes. I've not read the book, but I listened to a 15-minute excerpt of the book the other day. My buddy said, hey, think about this. And he made some very good points. The author, he or she, I can't remember. The person who was doing this video was a he, so I'm going to assume it's a he.
All right.
The author made some good points. Worry and stress about something that you have control over.
Good point.
Right?
Yeah.
And he also said is as you become more comfortable and as you have less things in your life, you become more stressed out about the minutia, what color shoes Eminem's character is wearing. But if you had to get off your ass, sorry about that, and go to work, you wouldn't have time to worry about what shoes the Eminem was wearing. Right?
Good point.
So I think people need to, it's weird. I work in an industry where people work hard, Reverse.
Yes,
the hardware business.
Absolutely.
Our team, they work hard. They stand all day. They help customers all day. They lift heavy stuff. We are working. Retail is not a game. It is very difficult. And then
7 days a week.
7
You're
days
on
a week.
the
We're
grind.
open every day, right?
Yep.
Our floors are cement. Nothing's comfortable about it, right? You feel it after a long day's worth of work. And then we have people complaining, not at Fratelloni's, but people writing problems about an M&M. It's like, get to work, and then you won't have time. They talk about how as you get older and you go in to bring a 30-cent coupon in somewhere and they don't accept it, you lose your mind.
Right.
Right? And it's like, okay, it's 30 cents may be important. I get that. But you don't lose your mind over something like that. You have to give a F about stuff that you can control, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought that made a lot of sense. And I was like, wow, I'm very impressed by that. I don't know if the book is great. I'm not telling everybody to buy it. I'm just saying it seems like we have lost things that matter to us, so everything becomes important.
Yeah.
Even this horrible problems down in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have talked about that.
Well, very briefly. In fact, I think the majority of our conversation about it was when we weren't recording the show. But yes.
So if I were to summarize, this kid who was protesting that the cops are going to build this new 90-acre copland or whatever they were going to call it, right? They weren't going to call it copland, but that's what the protesters were calling it, this training ground. And he's an activist. I'm like, he should have been a worker. Right? First and foremost, he should have been an employed person.
Right.
Because I feel like if he was unemployed, I'd say, well, that's what you get. You should have been working. And my mind says, how are you surviving as an activist?
I find myself asking that often when it comes to things I'll either see online, videos or whatnot, or when it comes to stories. And I'm thinking, how are you paying your bills?
How do you have,
Unless, aside from just simply being a trust fund baby, which in a lot of cases, that's what these people are. Or I shouldn't say it a lot, but in some cases, that's what these people are. But how are you making it to the end of the month?
Or they're 29-year-olds that live with their parents.
Maybe that's what it is.
And their parents don't have the guts to say, I'm not paying your cell phone bill anymore.
Right.
Because the moment a kid would say, wait, I have to pay my own cell phone, they would have to go get a job because we knew they can't live without a cell phone.
Of course, right.
They can't live without a cell phone. And I'm not ripping on anybody. I'm not. But parents that let their kids not work at 29 so they can protest or organize, I don't get it. I don't know how you're an activist.
If you're 7 years removed from college and you're still that's not okay.
Yeah,
You should,
no.
yeah.
And what do you do? So, okay, you graduate from college, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't go right into the workforce. You become an activist. And then what company? Say, let's pretend you're going to Macy's and you want to get a job at Macy's. And it says, for the last 5 years, I've been an activist. I'm going to promise you that the HR department at Macy's maybe says,
That's a red flag.
yeah, we're going to go ahead and put this in the I don't know pile, right? I don't know, but I mean, wouldn't that be a very tough thing on your resume?
Yep.
I think you'd maybe not want to say community organizer, or maybe that's what you would say because that sounds positive. I'm wound up about this.
I'm sorry, I didn't really mean to do that.
People are just losing their minds.
They are. So topic number 2 that I wanted, and we touched
thanks, you're
on
gonna
this.
just leave me hanging?
No, but I don't really know what else I can personally add to this other than we've just lost our minds.
Well, can't you add? And maybe Walls could come up with more of his Walls dollars and help these activists.
Have you seen the budget?
That's why I brought it up.
Okay.
It's a little shocking. You had it right. I think you said this is just like, you know what else we should have? We should put an ice cream cone maker in the basement and then maybe a jump house outside. It was like a kid's want list.
Well, what I had said too was this is the equivalent of, and I'm talking about, this isn't just this state, when it was in relation to the debt ceiling being reached. I think it was last Wednesday or Thursday, whenever it was. And I said, this is the same thing of you giving your kid a credit card that goes off to college.
Yep.
And you say, hey, for emergencies, this is to be used. If you have to make a charge, you got to let me know. And they rack it up and they say, hey, I need another $5,000, Mom and Dad. And you say, oh, okay, it's just another $5,000. No, at some point, responsibility has to set in when it comes to this freewheeling spending that we're doing. Now we sound like the Get Off My Lawn podcast.
But it's worth it.
Okay.
Right? So there was a really interesting stat with our national debt as a percentage, like if it was a person's credit card. Mm-hmm. And it was a long time ago when I had this, and things have really, really changed. But it was the equivalent of if you made $30,000, our national debt was like if you made $30,000, that you personally had $900,000 in credit card debt.
Oh my God.
That was years ago. So now it's
it's got to be 3 times that.
If you made $30,000, you have $2.7 million in credit card debt. Obviously, it's untenable. You're never going to pay that back.
No.
Right? No. So I'm going to see. You read the next story. And
Can
let me
a country declare bankruptcy?
You can, but then things really go downhill.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, one of my favorite stories, there's this book called The Jekyll of... No. I can't remember it.
That's okay.
But let me tell you about the book. It's about our Federal Reserve, right? And it talks about how it's like the island of Jekyll Island or the man of Jekyll Island. I'm forgetting. I'll remember what it's called. But it was talking about countries that would get ready to file bankruptcy, right? So Mexico is one of these. Okay. And they said, what we'd like to do is we'd like to sell bonds backed by the United States government. So we're going to sell Mexican bonds. So people are going to invest in our bonds. We're going to get millions of dollars. And the backing, if we fail, the backing is going to fall on the United States to back these bonds. And we're a good, neighbor of theirs. And we said, okay, that's kind of like not giving you money. We're going to back your bonds. So long story short is they issue these bonds, $500 million worth of it or whatever it is, and they sell all the bonds and they're super excited. Well, of course, they go ahead and default on these bonds. So the United States has to pick up the tab for all of these $500 million worth of bonds. And then as you read a little bit further, you found out that the person who paid and bought those $500 million was the United States government.
Oh, God.
So they sold us bonds that they just failed at and didn't pay, and we covered the $500 million. I'm like, what is going on? How does that happen? How do we let a country do that to us? And the devil of Jekyll Island. Let me look it up as you look at that. You have something good for me.
Okay. Well, I wanted to talk about the former president, but Joe pretty much touched on that earlier. But it was a story that I wanted to bring up with you because I know it involves one of your favorite things, which is golf.
Oh, yeah.
You see, he won a golf tournament.
Who did?
Former President Trump.
He wins them all, doesn't he?
Over the weekend. It was his tournament.
Yes.
And he was out of town.
Okay.
But he had one round, I believe.
Really?
Yeah. And he declared that he was the winner.
He was the winner. So kind of like the leader of North Korea?
I think, and that's the analogy that I had made. But I think he's in on the bit where he gets that.
That he's joking, yeah.
No, but that he's not joking, but he knows everyone's going to have a field day with this. So he doesn't give a damn. And he's just going to declare that I'm the winner.
I think
which I think is kind of funny.
He's a rascal. The guy's a rascal, and I don't even know what terms to describe him as, because he's both drives you nuts, and sometimes you like some things and sometimes you hate some things.
Sure.
But when I saw him at a golf course drive his cart onto the green and pick up his ball and drive off, I lost my mind. I thought, wait, what? I would kill somebody if I owned a golf course. Then I found out it was his golf course, right? And you're like, okay,
all right,
you can drive your golf cart
your
on
own
your
rules.
But it definitely seemed like something you wouldn't do, right?
Right. All right. You're still looking up that story, or are you looking up a news title?
I'm looking up that story, but
okay,
you can still keep The Creature from Jekyll Island is what it was called.
Okay, what year did it come out?
It's very old. It's like 2,000 pages.
Okay,
so it really takes a long time to read. And it's all it is about banking. It's lovely. Came out in 2010. Okay. That's that might be the second edition, but I think it was 2010.
We spent a number of minutes talking about this next story I wanted to bring up today, because the Best Picture nominations came out today.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
And Kenny made fun of my favorite movie of the last year.
I heard.
Thoroughly on the Garage Logic Town Council, and I just want to tell him and everyone else, joke's on you, because Top Gun Maverick was nominated for Best Picture.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you.
How is that? That just shows you what we've become.
You've seen it.
I've seen it.
It's a great movie.
It was a totally okay movie. It was totally okay. You can't have what is supposed to be realistic, that they spend all the time taking. They should have never wasted their time with actual flying. They should have just CGI'd it.
That's what made it great.
No, because at some point in time, they run up to a plane that hasn't started in 5 years, and they kickstart it. They push it down the road, and it starts up.
That's the power of Maverick.
And then they fly down. Spoiler alert: they fly down a runway that's pot marked with bombs, but they just steer out of the way. They kind of go on the sidewalk, and that is suspension of disbelief you just can't take, Reavers. Everything else was kind of realish.
Yep.
And then they said, let's jumpstart this F-16 and let's see what we can do.
You know, the great part about me being able to share that, not only have I seen Top Gun Maverick several times, but I've seen it in 3 different states in the theater. Once on vacation, and then once, anyway. So when I watched it for the very first time, I was alone, because I just needed to consume it by myself.
Sure. Plus, you knew you were going to cry.
And then the second time was with my wife and children. Mm-hmm. And we went to the theater together. So I knew what was going to happen, but it was fun to watch them react.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it was great. And I even got the part at the end that I'm not going to announce, but she grabbed my arm in such a tense moment, because she didn't know what was going to happen.
Spoiler alert, we win. Believe it or not, they didn't all die in a fiery plane crash. Spoiler alert. So
then when we were on our 4th of July vacation out on the West Coast in Seattle, I said, it's 4th of July.
We got to go.
We just went to the parade, and I forget what city we went to. It was outside of Tacoma. We found a great little town, great little parade. It was right on the water. It was fantastic. And I said, there's a movie theater nearby. We could totally go see Top Gun Maverick on the 4th of July. And she said, you're insane. I said, but yeah, the boys want to go see it, right, boys? And they went, yeah!
Oh, my good God.
Anyway, so it was nominated for Best Picture. I'm very happy.
I want to hear more about the nominations, because it's impressive that I know
Nothing else.
Can you read them to me? Because I've now, usually in the past, I think I had seen them all.
1, 2, 3.
And then now I don't know if I'll have seen anything besides Maverick.
So there have been 10 films nominated for Best Picture, which I believe is the most.
Okay, because that seems like a lot.
It does.
Right? Okay.
I believe they increased that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, inclusion is what.
So Top Gun Maverick is going to win, so it doesn't matter. Whatever.
It better not win.
Okay. The Fabelmans.
Oh, I heard that was good.
Okay.
That's what's his name? Spielberg's story.
Oh, that's the one that he made for his mom.
I think so.
Right?
It's like his childhood.
Okay, then I should probably watch that, because that did sound interesting. Something called Tar, T-A-R.
I think I know that one. Okay, but go ahead. I don't know that one. Let's pretend I don't know.
Triangle of Sadness.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh my God, this has no business being nominated for Best Picture. Avatar: The Way of Water. I know it's super popular. I know it makes a ton of money, but you're not going to be able to rip Top Gun Maverick if you're going to think that this is okay to be nominated for Best Picture.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet. I thought the first one was unique. Right, the first Avatar.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is another film.
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
No idea.
Now.
Women Talking.
I live that one. That's what I get all the time.
The Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh, that sounds good too.
Okay. The Elvis movie, which I actually do want to see, but I have not yet because it does look very good. How about the fact that that both Lisa Marie and the next day she's found dead. Like that's just so sad.
So sad. Yeah.
Elvis, and then All Quiet on the Western Front, which I'm not familiar with.
Well, All Quiet on the Western Front is that a new version of that movie?
I think that's. Okay, I'm willing to be corrected. I'm not your movie guy.
Okay.
But I believe that's a Netflix film.
Okay.
I believe, but I'm willing to be corrected.
Oh, well, that's not, I mean, I thought that was an old movie, but that I look forward to that.
Okay.
Right? It's a war movie. Like war dramas I enjoy. Right?
I will say this too. Is it Austin Butler, the guy that played Elvis? He did make a very good young Elvis. Like he looks like a young Elvis.
I have a theory, Reavers.
Yes.
That movies like Maverick, and people are going to hate me for this.
Meatheads like me?
No, are made for people that love country music. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you're listening to country music, life is okay. I was like listening to some lyrics, and this particular song, if I were to just break it down, he's like, got good news from the bank today. That was one line. The loan came through for my new Chevrolet. Right? And I said, okay. So he's getting a new truck. All he wants to do is go mudding. Yep. And I'm like, okay, I'm with you, right? Go get the loan, you get the new Chevy. He's got to have a girl involved, but he just wants to go mudding. And I thought, so I've been listening because I think life is stressful, right? And I live a blessed life. I really do. Sure. But life is stressful. And I think the more I listen to country music, I'm like, yeah.
It's a good escape.
This guy just got himself a new Silverado, right? Everybody. And then I thought to myself, because my monkey little brain of business says, no wonder Ford isn't as popular as Chevrolet in country music realm, because nothing rhymes with Ford, right? You can say
there's
Chevrolet
nothing elegant about
all day.
about Ford in a song lyric.
Yeah, you can't say I went and got my Ford. You got to enunciate the Chevrolet, right?
Maybe that's why they chose the name.
Maybe that's right. And I thought Ford needs to come out with a truck that has multiple syllables so it can go into a country song. Give it out to some country singers, right? An F-150 kind of works, but it seems a little generic, right, for a song. But as I listen to country, I think I like Maverick. I'm happy with. I don't care that they kick-started a F-16 fighter jet that was laying in some Russian hole. Nope. I don't care that they did that to win the war. I don't care that because I'm just happy because I'm going to go mudding in my Silverado later.
This movie was made for the people like me who loved the original, and what it did was it checked the boxes for us to relive 1986.
And I get that.
That's exactly what this was. But I will say this. And I know, and, Joe and Kenny both say, it's a giant cliche. Well, no,
of course
S.
he did.
No S. That's
every
exactly
movie's a giant
what it was.
cliche.
But it was also done well with actual footage. They were really flying. And I think that was also a draw for the people that might not have seen the original. So whatever.
So pro wrestling. Right?
You're not going to equate Top Gun Maverick to pro wrestling.
Top Gun Maverick, pro wrestling, country music.
Okay.
I like all those things. But there are guys that watch country or that watch pro wrestling. My Uncle Doug, an incredibly smart man.
Yep.
Right? Super smart, does great work, does some stuff with us. He's super creative. He loves pro wrestling. Had a blog about it. Knows everything about it. And I say to him, Doug, do you not know who's going to win this one?
Right.
This is entertainment, and he lies to himself and says, I don't care. I like this.
Right.
Right.
This is what I want.
This is what I want. And maybe life is better. Joe hit on this the other day with that gal who was saying, hey, our property taxes give us clean water. And he's like, I just want to touch her to get a little bit of what she has. Maybe Joe needs to listen to a little country music.
Yeah.
And just think about, then he'll go buy a Silverado instead of all these little foreign cars he buys.
There is, speaking of this then, I never knew this was going to come up, but there is a song by Tim McGraw.
Okay.
You know who Tim McGraw is.
I know who he is, yeah.
And it's fairly, I'm not going to say it's new, but it came out within the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And it's called 7500 OBO.
Okay.
And the song is about him as a younger man needing to sell his truck because it reminds him too much of the girl that broke his heart.
Sure, I remember
because
that
she would ride in the truck with him and talking about she'd have her feet on the dash, and that's all he can think about when he's driving. And every guy in some way can relate to that, right?
Yep.
And I don't know why the hell I decided to bring this up. But it's that type of, it's going to hit you in one. The song might be stupid.
It's a great song.
But it's a great song because it's going to hit you at a moment that you can place in your past.
I go back every time I listen to that song. I think, oh, the moment she put her feet on my dash, we would have broken up. I'm like, hey, honey, this is my new truck. Get your feet off the dashboard. What are you thinking? At least now I can say, hey, there's airbags. Those are going to kill you, right? I don't have to be a prick about it. I can just say, hey, it's very dangerous. For some reason, many girls that I've known have attempted to put their feet up on the dashboard. It's like, what are you doing? Like, get your feet off my dashboard.
Yeah.
It's like putting your foot on a couch with your shoe on.
When my beloved and I started dating, I was driving this. So we started dating in January of 1999.
Oh, wow.
And I was at that time driving a 1987 Pontiac Bonneville that had about 220,000 miles.
So you didn't care what she did.
So she could have rode on the roof. I didn't give a damn.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you some courting questions. Did you court her so fast and said, we need to get married before 2000 because we don't know what's going to happen?
No.
Or you dated for like 8 years.
In fact, yeah, it got to the point where I was getting made fun of what are you doing here?
Yeah. Are you going to close this deal or what?
Well, we were just really not in a hurry.
Yeah. Plus, you were waiting for marriage, so you didn't have that whole sex thing to worry about.
Right. I mean,
right?
Had none of that to worry about.
No, you had none of that. So you weren't clouding your relationship with romanticism.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so you didn't do one of those, I need to get married before 2000 because, party over.
No, but I do remember when we were picking out a date, and I remember thinking, well, because we both wanted a fall wedding, and I had proposed on Christmas Eve.
Okay.
Because I was too cheap to buy her because
Yes.
I just thought that was a nice.
So you've destroyed that day for her for the rest of your
Well, but I remember thinking, okay, well, we probably can't get married this fall because the place we wanted had already been booked or whatever. And I remember we had waited an extra year to plan the date. And I thought, well, that's good because this is basically because in fact I got married right before I started working here.
Fall, I'm thinking World Series time.
And you know the best thing.
Yeah, I want to hear. How did this relate to ball?
Oh, this is so good.
Okay. Does she know this?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay, all right.
In fact, it was part of so when I have to do hey, thank you everybody for coming.
Okay.
Of course I wasn't going to, it was about, but I asked her, I said, do you want to do any speaking? She said, are you out of your mind?
Sure.
Of course not.
Yeah.
She says, I know you'll handle it from here. And I said, well, I'd personally, because it was a Saturday, obviously, and I had said, I would personally like to thank the Minnesota Vikings for scheduling their bye week for this week.
Nice.
And so that got a nice round of applause. And it was one of the years the Twins didn't make the playoffs.
Okay.
So we'd have to worry about that. But I will say at the groom's dinner at the restaurant we had it at, I did instruct the wait staff that the TV that was in the corner had to be on the Major League Baseball playoff that evening. So
good.
And she was completely fine with that.
She was fine.
Yeah.
So you just zoned out and watched baseball. And then she didn't say to herself, why am I doing this?
No,
right?
not at all.
Well, that's nice that you can get away with that stuff.
All right. Speaking of that very thing, I saw this story, I think about a week ago, and sent it to myself to bring it up with you because you're a money guy. That's what you do.
My
here.
brain works in mathematics.
And I saw this story and I thought this would be something I need to bring up with Mike on the show. Headline. This is from the New York Post. My mom won't babysit her grandchild unless I pay her $20 an hour plus overtime.
Really?
As new parents, Nina and her husband are struggling for money. Her daughter is just a few months old, but she's already looking at daycare and worrying the fees will eat up much of what she earns. They've got over $7,000 in credit card debt, and Nina said paying daycare fees could drive them further into debt. She was hoping to lean on her mother to help out, but the 29-year-old was gobsmacked to learn that she wanted to charge an hourly rate for babysitting. For the grandma, the issue didn't seem to be the money, but instead she disapproved that Nina was going back to work instead of staying home with her child. My mom is 64 and has been a stay-at-home since 1992 and hasn't been part of the workforce since then, she explained. She also added that if I really wanted this baby, then maybe I should have thought about staying home like she did to take care of it while my partner goes to work and provides for us like a traditional family. A lot to unpack here. I get
I'm with her, actually.
mom's stance.
Yeah, I'm with her.
I kind of get mom's stance about staying home. But in this day and age, it's really, really difficult for people to have one income.
It is. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
But at the same time, if she stayed home with the kids, then they wouldn't have to pay for daycare, which makes it a little easier to have one income, right?
Sure. But if you want to live at a certain means, a certain level, whatever, two incomes are going to be required.
I know, but you might have to spend $20 an hour for daycare, which is like an awfully good hourly wage for 90% of the people that do standard jobs, right?
True.
Yeah,
so you're with mom.
I'm
here.
with mom because the mom is saying, "Hey, why do I have to do this when you are going to go get a job? Mom is just like, why don't I just go get a job myself and make money, and then you just stay home with the kids? Or I don't want to work, and plus, I don't want to watch. I like children. I don't want to watch my kids. That's not my job." Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't that seem like a lot of work?
But most of the time, because I remember the early days, when Jess, especially, when going through it the first time, when Jess went back to work after she had almost 4 months off. I think it was almost 4 months. And then she went back to work. First of all, she was a disaster when she had to go back to work.
Oh, did she not like that?
Well, no, she wanted to be home. And I get it completely. But we leaned on both sets of parents so much, especially early on with, well, he's not feeling well, so we can't take him in, or oh man, it was a lot of, hey, I gotta head out early because I gotta go pick up the kid, and it was a lot of that kind of stuff.
That is the absolute opposite of my ex-wife.
Okay,
she wanted to get back to work.
Oh, really?
Right now, she would have left the hospital and gone and got into a Zoom meeting. Yeah, so it was. She really wanted to get back to work. So
and we were pretty lucky. When we moved. Not just recently, but the previous time, we ended up finding a home daycare lady who was beyond our wildest expectations. She was fan-freaking-tastic and a lifesaver. So we really lucked out big time.
My favorite story, my beautiful daughter, Adelaide, 3 months and a day. She's right at the time where we can take her to this daycare.
Sure.
And this daycare, I'm going to give it a plug, McDonald Montessori off of West St. Paul.
You've mentioned them before, yeah.
Best place. They had a little guy playing the guitar outside for the kids. Right? I mean, it was just gorgeous. It's right next to St. Stan's, right by Mancini's, right? Just love it. And I go to my kids in her little car seat, right? Because that's how I carried her because I didn't know how to do it yet, right? And I reach down to pull her out of her car seat, and she has this cute outfit on because she wants to look like $1 million. And she had crapped all the way up to her mid hairline. Like it was, I looked at her, I was just godsmacked. I was like, what? No. And I start to put her back down, and they're like, what's wrong? I said, oh, she had an accident. And they said, oh, we got it. And I said, what do you mean? They said, oh,
no, there's literally.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this, I have to throw away this car seat. I mean, like everything about it was destroyed. And they said, this happens every day. And I looked at them, you know that thing where you do with your hands, you're like I did that little thing. I said, see you later. It was the best, like literally one of the, I mean, it was great. I looked down at my sweet little beautiful daughter and said, good luck to you. And I get there and she has a little change of outfit on. They said she had a great day. And I was like, how great of a day. She started with pooping her pants up to her hairline.
Yeah, it was a tough go at the beginning.
I've never done that. I've never pooped my pants all the way to my hairline.
Well, I don't know if this would help that situation, but our guy Dave Pounds is the inventor of the Slush Buster. You know what happens if you don't clear the ice from around your wheels, Michael? This will cause a few problems for you and your vehicle. Your car may feel shaky while driving because the tire is rubbing and hitting against the ice. Your tires may get premature wear from rubbing on the ice. Yes, believe it or not, that ice can cause damage to your tires. Your suspension will feel a lot less bouncy, and you may even hear bumps and cracking as you hit potholes. And if you drive in St. Paul, you're going to be hitting a lot of potholes. Since your wheel now has less room to move up and down, you can damage your car, and that's why you need a Slush Buster. How are we doing with inventory at 511
I did get 21 more in.
Nice.
Because he grabbed them, and these are the last of them.
This is it.
And did he say, do you have his email up? Because I don't have it in front of me. St. Louis Park, like a handful of my stores got them. Everybody might have one or two because I kind of moved everything around.
Maybe call ahead?
Call ahead, but there was a few stores that had 10.
Okay.
And they're just going to be gone. I mean, they're just going to be gone. But as of right now, and probably through next week, right? Because we're not picking up a lot of snow right now.
And I got news for you. Winter ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
Did you see the weather forecast for next season?
I did.
I'm not looking forward to that.
No.
Like I was already chilled today at 31.
When I see, especially, I don't know why this hits harder when it's on a weekend, But when I see a weekend daytime high with a single number, I get angry. And I don't know why. I've lived here my entire life. I know that's what happens this time of the year. But when I see Keith Marler standing in front of a 5 on a Saturday, I get mad.
I don't mind the 5 because I know it's going to be sunny out, right? Because it's always real clear, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
Sure.
Whenever there's no clouds to keep in the heat,
Yeah.
it's the -19 in the middle of the night,
Anyway.
right? And I got a dog that needs to go outside, and that dog looks at me like, I'm not doing this.
And I love dogs, but
Yeah.
that's honestly the main reason I don't have a dog.
So
It's
you
'cause
allow
I
a cat to just poop in your house.
Yeah,
Is that-
100,
okay.
and guess what? When I clean it up, I'm doing it in shorts and a t-shirt,
Yeah.
and it's 66 degrees. It's fantastic.
It's way easier.
It's so much easier.
I get it. I feel you.
Anyway, stop in at one of your 21. Call ahead to one of your 21 Fratelloni's hardware and garden stores locations.
And the dog and cat story had nothing to do with the slush buster in this case. That was extemporaneous speaking.
added value.
Added value. You're welcome, Dave.
Also at Wellna Ace Hardware, and you can also find them online at slushbuster.us. Check Amazon as well, but just Fratelloni's is your way to go, or slushbuster.us. Yeah, Michael, you know what? That's all I got for you today.
Reavers, you're the best.
Please do us a favor and rate and review the show wherever you happen to be listening to the Weekly Scramble. His name is Mike Fratelloni. My name is Chris Reavers. We will talk to you again next week. Until then, cheers.